p.m. in council chambers. The first item up would be the adoption of minutes from previous meetings. This would be committee of the whole minutes from October the 7th and regular open minutes from October the 7th. Do they still need a correction? Thank you, Councillor McCordoff. We need the... They're okay? Okay.
It says acting mayor in both of them. Oh, on my copy it does. Yes. So that's why I right at the beginning it said in both of mine. Okay, that's fine if it's been changed there. Thanks.
So, okay, so the change was there had been acting Mayor Ryan, and actually I was here for that meeting, so it was Mayor Wells. That change has been made, so we don't have to do an adoption on the official minutes. Any further input into those, they'll be adopted by consensus. Thank you. Next item up is business arising from prior minutes. This came through the morning meeting, and this has been information from closed meetings that's being brought forward. There's a few twists and changes to it, so I'm going to have Mr. Romanko make the presentation to make sure that we get it correct. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. This particular item speaks to two motions that are being taken out of in camera for the purposes of public knowledge. Council passed the following motions on April 15th, 2013. This motion, in-camera motion 4713, moved by Councillor Rhodes, seconded by Councillor Plant, and resolved that Council confirms that the architect be directed to proceed to design the fire hall building to include a fourth bay, a training tower, mezzanine, and an emergency signalization be deferred. This motion speaks to the development of the new and planning of the new fire hall. The second motion that was taken out of in-camera motion 4913, moved by Councillor Ryan and seconded by Councillor McCordoff, and resolved that Council confirms that voter assent on the construction of the fire hall building be sought through a referendum process to be scheduled for 2/14 following the May long weekend and no later than June 30th. So with the motion that was made by Council this morning, these two items are now taken out of in camera. The second item that is coming out of in camera is a product of the two motions, and this speaks to the development and pre-design study of the fire hall, of the new fire hall. The town of Osoyoos completed a fire hall study in 2007 that identified that the current fire hall didn't meet the standards needed to operate an effective and efficient volunteer fire department. The fire hall study was followed up with a fire department assessment and administrative review that was completed in July 2008. The town of Osoyoos Fire Department consists of a part-time paid fire chief and approximately 30 volunteer firefighters that provide structural fire response to the town of Osoyoos, Osoyoos Rural Protection District, and the Osoyoos Indian Band. The department also provides response to motor vehicle accidents and is involved in mutual aid agreements. Council, the administration, and the fire department have been working in camera under Article 91K of the Community Charter to move the development of the new fire hall forward. An architectural firm, KMBR Architects and Planners, was hired to work with Council, administration, and the fire department to develop a pre-design report that will provide a facility plan that meets the needs of the community. The Osoyoos pre-design report has been completed, and through a motion of Council at the October 7th meeting, was directed to be taken out of in camera on October 21st regular meeting. And the highlights of the report include, and I'm going to read very briefly some of the highlights of what is the proposed new fire hall for this area. The immediate program needs requirements of the Osoyoos Fire Department require a gross floor area of approximately 13,258 square feet, plus approximately 1,833 square feet of mezzanine space area adjacent to the apparatus bay. The building will include 4 drive-through apparatus bays sized to accommodate up to 8 firefighting equipment, Other standard program components that are normally found in a fire station include a hose training tower, hose equipment, gear storage, workshop, training room, kitchen, and administration office. A multi-purpose room will serve as the Osoyoos Emergency Operations Center, whose purpose it is to provide a more remote command center. Currently located in the Sonora Center, the Emergency Services Operations Center will be located in a new fire hall once completed. When not needed for emergency operations, this room will be available for community use and will thus serve as a revenue generator. Accordingly, the parking lot has been sized with sufficient number of spaces to accommodate adequate community use. The new fire hall will be built to meet post-disaster seismic design standards as defined in the BC Building Code. The new fire hall will be designed to meet the standards of durability, life safety, mechanical, electrical, communication systems, and equipment typical of modern fire hall. The form and character of the building shall be meet the design guidelines of the town of Osoyoos. The building is envisioned to achieve a high level of environmental stewardship to conform with the town of Osoyoos Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. An early Class C estimate, that is the opinion of probable cost, and we're still dealing with what is termed to be Class C estimates, which bring the estimates within 15%. So the estimated cost of the building and site development is estimated at $4.524 million. The global project budget, including soft costs, brings to a total of $5.657 million. So again, we're dealing with estimated costs at this time. I think it's important to note within this report that this project has been identified, has the endorsement of council and the fire department. The proposed construction is slated for 2015. The costs of construction are estimates, and although we have construction estimates, we haven't worked out the actual potential borrowing costs because they'll be significantly lower than the cost estimates. Council has directed that a referendum on the borrowing of the funds be completed prior to the end of June 2014. So whether or not the fire hall is built will be a community decision. Administration will be working with the Osoyoos Rural Protection District and the Osoyoos Indian Band to determine their amounts and method of contribution to this project. And that's why I said earlier we haven't worked out the actual costs of borrowing, because we're still working through with our partners how much they're responsible for and how they in fact will make payment towards the building. A series of public information sessions and information updates will be provided to the public prior to the referendum to ensure that the public is able to make an informed decision on the borrowing bylaw. A full report, the full pre-design report, will be posted on the town's website, or a hard copy will be made available at costs of development of the hard copy. So what we're looking for here is basically moving ahead on the fire hall project. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Romanko. And just a bit further to that, there was a large group of people from Osoyoos that were a part of the process up to this point. And that includes Rick Jones, he's the fire chief, Bill Roque, he's on the fire department, Blake Ogilvie, he's the assistant fire chief, Mr. Barry Romanko, Mr. Alan Cunningham, our planner, and Neil Padgett, our building inspector. So they've put together some of this information up to this point. I think it's important to note that our partners in this, and I'll just state that again, is the Osoyoos Rural Fire Protection. They have these numbers that are being presented here today, and also the Osoyoos Indian Band will be a part of this and a part of the contributors to the funding amount here. It's very important that people understand that this will be going to a full-on referendum, and it'll be not in the first part of 2014. because we know there's a lot of snowbirds there, so we are conscious of that. People are away, and they have complained in the past that referendums were held or a vote was held and they weren't able to participate in it. So this will be after January, February, March, probably into that April, May area. Sometimes we have a deadline for June, but we'll be presenting this as fair as we can. As much as I want to say about the openness of this, I'm going to turn this over to Councillor Rhodes, because nobody has more passion about open government than Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Rhodes, please. And I'm sort of put him on the spot, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you sure did. I don't even know what to say. One of the situations that we've been kind of talking about is how important the engagement of our community is in the decision-making process with this. When you start off in these projects like this, we often get sidetracked and we design things and build things and don't really ask the public what they actually think about it. And a fire hall is one of those entities, one of those amenities that you have in your community that nobody ever thinks about them at all under any circumstances until your house is on fire, and then they become the most important people in the world, trying to rescue and save your possessions and that kind of thing. So we wanted to be very, very transparent, but regrettably a lot of the decision-making process you have to make in those in-camera meetings, and it always makes it look like you're doing all kinds of secretive things, but you're not really. You're making decisions that have a pretty broad consequences if everybody knew about them. I'm really happy that this information is starting to come out to the public. As Mayor Wells indicated, over the next little while we will begin our engagement with the community, and those will form public meetings and that type of thing where all the residents that are involved in it will be able to attend these and ask questions and about not only the how we got to where we are, but what the fire hall is actually going to look like and so on. So I'm pretty darn happy. I'm glad that we're legislated to go the referendum process, because that will be the ultimate decision maker about whether we actually proceed with it. And between now and then, it's important for everyone to understand that we will attempt to minimize the expenses between now and then, because when you have a referendum of this magnitude, and a lot of people think $4 or $5 or $6 million. Well, in the overall scheme of things, it ain't very much. But this is a huge, huge decision-making process for us, and the referendum will ultimately tell the tale about whether we're going to move forward or not. And once again, just to repeat myself, because I think it's so important, we will attempt to minimize any costs, between now and that decision-making process. And I'm kind of excited about it. I know the money is going to be a big issue, but we'll see how that plays out over the next while. And I would really encourage everybody to be involved and let me and the rest of council and anybody else that'll listen to you, how you actually feel about that. And you have so many ways of doing that. Not to say the public meetings that we will be having about this. So thanks for that opportunity. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. With passion, it's always good to have it out there, because it's really important that people understand how open and transparent this is going to be. Any other comments from council? Hearing none. We need an action on this, Mr. Romanko? No. This is just public information, just bringing it forward. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm sure the press will be able to get some sort of coverage on that. Thanks, Mr. Lacey. Next item up would be delegations. No delegations today. Water matters. Paying some water accounts in the amount of $101,158.86. Councillor Morera, Councillor Laranjo, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That has been carried. Next item up would be received correspondence. First item would be the City of Delta, changes to the Federal Reserve policy. I must say I found the changes that that the federal government is looking at to be quite shocking. And I was really hoping that council would be taking a position on this of a letter, and maybe we want to look at it further. A lot of times we receive some of these mails and they just sort of get a rubber stamp. As far as I'm concerned, this really changes the way municipalities are going to operate in all of Canada. And if council isn't quite ready to deal with it now, we could certainly bring it back at a different time. There's what I consider some serious concerns about how this is going to play out. So I'll turn that over to Councillor. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would like to ask that we bring this back at a future date. I don't know how urgent it is, but you know, reading this over, there's so many different levels of information that need to be kind of researched a little bit. I'm not asking that anybody research it, but I certainly would like a little bit more time to kind of, you know, look into the overall implications of it. And yeah, sometimes you get these letters and they just don't make, you know, you go, what the heck, you know, and I'd sure hate to let this matter kind of slide by. You know, and I think a little bit of sober second thought and a little bit of time to look at it and maybe bring it back in a couple of meetings from now if that's possible.
Sure, and hopefully there'll be some input from UBCM or FCM or a little bit of assistance on that, because the way it is right now, I certainly have a hard time not speaking up for it. So, Ms. Scott, could we get this onto an agenda repeating itself? And I better have a resolution from council on that. That was a resolution, and Plant seconding. All in favor? Let's revisit this in a couple of weeks and see how we like it then. Second item up under correspondence, Lake Osoyoos Sailing Club, tax exempt status. Mr. Remenko, were you?
This, I don't know why they has tax exempt status as the heading, but basically the Sailing Club has just provided us an overview of their activities in the last year, just generally trying to inform council on their contribution to the community, and I think something to be taken as information.
Great. And okay. If I can just speak to that for a minute. I think what happened is they didn't give structured lessons this year, and actually part of maybe their tax status, but part of their agreement with the municipality is to give structured lessons, and they couldn't find an instructor. And I think they put on a real good weekend program that maybe even had been better than the structured classes that brought a lot of students to town. So I think they were maybe doing that with us, and I think just a motion to receive, Councillor Plant, McCordoff, I think that would be that'll cover it. All in favor? Great, thank you. Under permissive tax bylaws, Mr. Remenko, please, seeing as our financial director is maybe hunting these days.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
He's back, but he's not back at work. He's resting after the hunt.
Okay.
So this is an annual process for council to renew their permissive tax exemption bylaw under section 224 of the community charter. Each year council updates their permissive tax exemption bylaw, which is to be adopted no later than October 31st each year. This tax exemption bylaw would take effect for the 2014 tax year. The bylaw received first 3 readings at the September 16th meeting. There was 1 amendment to this bylaw, and the 3rd reading was rescinded and reread for the 3rd time on October 7th meeting. Notice of the 2014 permissive tax exemptions and estimated amounts were advertised in the October 9th and 16th issues of the Osoyoos Times, as well as posted on the town's website. Under our implications, under the community, continuation of providing permissive tax exemptions by updating and renewing the permissive tax exemption bylaw. No organizational, no budget changes significantly. Significant dates, this has to be adopted no later than October 31st. And the bylaw needs to be received by BC Assessment no later November 9th. Sustainability allows for nonprofit organizations to continue to do their good work in the town of Osoyoos. So the options as presented are to adopt the bylaw, to rescind third reading and further amend the permissive tax exemption bylaw, or 3, to delay the adoption of the bylaw. And the recommendation
Is wrong.
is wrong. It should be actually to adopt the permissive tax exemption bylaw.
Right, I was,
Looked at that too.
thank you, yeah, I had that, I'm going, whoa.
He
I
must have
think
been
we
going
did
hunting already.
that. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion based on the wording in option 1.
Okay, and seconder,
second it.
Councillor McCordoff. Any further input from council on that? All in favor? So we are headed for a public.
No,
We're done?
we're done.
Okay.
Council's done with it.
Great,
yes.
great. Thank you. The next would be a report on the Wish Property Agricultural Land Reserve Exclusion application.
You missed one item there.
I'm sorry. Amendments to the Osoyoos zoning bylaw for home occupations. A report from Director of Planning and Development Services, Mr. Cunningham. Thank you for that correction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll read through my report. I won't read through the proposed amendments in full, but I will take council through them and explain the reasons for the administrative proposals. The purpose of this report is to request council give first reading of the attached zoning bylaw amendments relating to home occupations and set a date for a public hearing. Earlier proposed amendments were introduced to council at their town meeting on August 19th for their feedback. Our zoning bylaw is now 15 years old and will be modernized over the next year or two, but we are currently focusing on priority issues needing attention. In the case of home occupation, staff faces considerable challenges interpreting and applying their antiquated bylaw provisions. One particular need which requires attention is the growing interest in operating home businesses out of apartments, which currently is not allowed. Attached are proposed bylaw amendments for a new definition of a home occupation and regulations for their operations. For comparison purposes, our current bylaw provisions are also attached. Our proposed approach to home occupations is designed with the following objectives in mind. A, facilitate economic opportunities for appropriate home businesses. B, accommodate home businesses in a way that respects the essential character of residential neighborhoods. C, preserve our downtown as the main center of business in Osoyoos. And D, ensure that bylaw provisions are practically enforceable. Staff will be very interested, however, in receiving feedback on the proposed bylaw changes at the public hearing. Options. 1, council give first reading to bylaw 1, number 1085. I have to put my glasses on for this. 1085-88-213 to amend the town of Osoyoos zoning bylaw 10885-1998, or council requests revisions before proceeding further, or 3, do not take any actions. Impacts. Community. Increases flexibility for home occupation businesses, but in balance with limiting nuisances in residential areas and maintaining the viability of our downtown. Budget. Business license fees will be collected. Organizational. Assist with bylaw interpretation is designed with the practicalities of bylaw enforceability in mind. Timelines. Suggested optional public hearing dates are in November, either on Tuesday 12th, Wednesday 13th, or Thursday 14th. The meeting would start at 7 p.m. and be held in council chambers. 2 successful advertisements will be placed in the Osoyoos Times on October 30th and November 6th, respectively. Sustainability balances economic opportunities with urban livability. Recommendation, staff recommends that council give first reading to the bylaw amendments and sets a date for a public hearing. And if you turn to the actual proposed bylaw amendments itself, and I'll take you down to, it says 4.5 conditional use regulations for home occupations, and it starts with some general conditions that would apply to all home businesses, and these are fairly common to most or all zoning bylaws, are intended to minimize the potentially damaging nuisances that improper home occupations would create for surrounding residential neighborhoods. I say that's a fairly standard list that you will find in any bylaw. In turning to subsection 2, the following types of home occupations are allowable subject to meeting all other conditions and regulations of section 4.5. That's the whole section. And what we've done here is we've made a distinction between what we call level 1 and level 2 home occupations. Level 1 having the lowest impact, level 2 having a higher impact. And the consideration in making this separation is that the low impact level 1 home occupations would only be allowed in certain types of homes, such as apartments and carriage houses. Level 2 would be allowable in a broader range of housing types, including single family. Now what I've done here is we went through all the businesses licenses which we have for home occupations, and this list that I've got here covers all the home occupations which we have in town that are accompanied with a business license. But just to be on the safe side, included level 1 or 2, any other use approved by the Director of Planning and Development Services that meets the general conditions of subsection 4.1. So if there's something that we haven't heard about out there, or is a little bit different from what the list, then we have the discretion to add those, and then when we make the next bylaw amendments, we will in fact include them as allowable uses. So it gives a bit of flexibility instead of turning somebody away and say, well, it doesn't quite fit the list. And the reason for having a list is to take discretion away from people at the front counter, instead of them searching through the general conditions and saying, well, in my opinion, this fits or doesn't fit. They're written down for certainty. Turning to subsection 3, the levels and numbers of allowable home occupation businesses shall suit the type of building on the lot in which they are located as follows. So there you'll see that in fact we make a distinction between level 1s and 2s depending on what housing type we're talking about. So very, very flexible provision, I think. Then we've got in the next section, which should be 4. Thank you. We've got maximum sizes for different types of home occupations and how much they can occupy of the single family dwelling or the accessory building or the 2-family unit or multifamily unit. This is fairly common across all bylaws, and the intent is to make sure that the home occupation stays an accessory use to the primary use of the dwelling, which is of course residential. And then we close with what should be subsection 5 with just some additional notes on off-street parking. And the primary thing I want to draw your attention to here is that 1 additional parking space would be required for each commercial vehicle or trailer required for the business, because those are likely to be the things that neighbors might find to be a nuisance. Open for questions.
Okay, thanks, Director Cunningham. It seems like the work is mostly completed on this, and the reason I'm asking is, you know, I didn't want to see us moving ahead into a long process and getting bogged down. We just lost an employee out of the planning department, and you know, that's going to have an impact on it also. But this seems to be that it's basically completed. We're going to take it to the public, get some impact, get some input from them, some feedback from them, right. And this will be done this calendar year?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as we get through the public hearing and get to final reading, then it can be implemented the next day.
Okay. Councillor Rose, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question. And when an individual that has an idea about a home-based business comes in and applies for it, do we survey the immediate neighborhood, the neighbors and that, for objections or support or anything like that? And if so, what criteria do we follow for that?
No, we don't do that. There is one place notably that does that, and it's Kelowna, or at least they used to the last time I looked. And very unusually, and I say this very unusually across North America, they have a different zoning designation for home occupations in a single-family home. So it's R1 and then in brackets O for home occupation, or H, I think it is. The problem I find with this is it's extremely restrictive. There's going to be some neighbors, for whatever reasons, they don't get along with the person next door or whatever, and they're going to raise objections, and the objections are not always for a good reason. So I don't think it's something that typically is requiring public participation over and above that anybody could come to the public hearing and have objections to the kind of home occupations that they're going to have next door to them, or there could be some people who say it's too restrictive. They would like to have more flexibility in the type of home occupation that they want to operate. But the answer, in short, is no.
Any other input from council? Direction, please.
Yes.
Councilor McCordoff.
I would like to move that option 1, that council gives first reading to bylaw number 1085-88, 2013, to amend the Town of Osoyoos zoning bylaw 1085, 1998.
And to set the...
Oh, absolutely. And I would like to see that we have a public hearing on the 14th. No, the 12th. Tuesday the 12th. Okay. But that's my preference. But
Okay. Great. Seconder, please. Councillor Plant. Any further discussion on this? First reading and moving forward to the public process. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Director Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Council.
Next item would be the Wish Property Agricultural Land Reserve Exclusion Application. Mr. Cunningham, please.
The purpose of this report is to seek council approval for setting a public meeting date to receive comments on Kent McPherson's ALR exclusion application for the 22-acre Wish property on behalf of its owner, Kevin Demers of Pembroke Estates. The property is located south of the new intersection Highway 3 servicing OIB lands. At Council's meeting on July 2nd, they agreed that the revised draft area plan submitted by Kent McPherson is sufficient to support a formal application without prejudice to their final decision or on possible exclusion. The application was received on October 3rd, together with the required $600 application fee, of which the town retains half and will remit the other half to the Agricultural Land Commission. The cyberlink to Kent McPherson's 140-page application report is included in Council's agenda package immediately following this report. A link for the general public will be included under news items on the town website. And here's a frontispiece of the document, so you know you've got into it if you were looking for it. The intent today is not to discuss the merits or demerits of exclusion per se, but rather to discuss opportunities for public involvement in reviewing the applicant's proposals. The Kent McPherson application report includes, amongst many other things, proof of meeting their statutory notification of obligations under Section 16.1 of the Agricultural Land Commission Act, ALCA regulation. And that is 2 consecutive advertisements of their exclusion application were posted respectively in the September 11th and September 18th, 2013 editions of the Osoyoos Times. Written notice was served to 10 adjoining property owners, and development signage was posted fronting the property on Highway number 3. As enabled under Section 27 of the ALCA regulation, and in accordance with our past practice, Council has the option of also requesting the applicant to attend an advertised public meeting along with any interested members of the public. A public meeting, not a public hearing, allows informal discussion among Council and members of the public as compared with the legal proceedings of a public hearing, which only allows Council to receive representations from the public. The information gained from the public meeting can be taken into consideration by Council at a subsequent meeting, along with the applicant's report, the findings of a staff report, and discussion amongst Council members themselves before determining whether or not to support the exclusion application to the Agricultural Land Commission. Options: 1, council may choose to convene an advertised public meeting, or instead direct staff to simply advise in the Osoyoos Times on the town website that written comments may be submitted to council through the director, myself. If council does choose to convene a public meeting, then staff proposes that be held on the same evening they select for the public hearing on the home occupation zoning bylaw amendments, i.e. either on November 12th, 13th, or 14th, and of course you've just decided to hold that on the 12th. The public hearing would be at 7 p.m., so the public meeting could follow at about 7:30. One advertisement could be placed in the Osoyoos Times of November 6th to meet our legal obligations, or if council prefers, an additional advertisement could also be placed on October 30th. Recommendations. Staff recommends that council set a date for an advertised public meeting for the Wish Property ALR exclusion application, and confirms whether they want 1 or 2 advertisements posted in the Osoyoos Times.
Okay, thanks, Director Cunningham. But here we go again. When council is putting this forward, we don't have to make a position on this. Can we go down back to that long-standing discussion that we always have? And I need that clarified, please.
Yeah. There are 3 options. One of which is to support the exclusion of the property to the Agricultural Land Commission, or to recommend against it, or to not say anything. And in which case I think the Commission would probably consider that to be a no. I've advised consistently in these matters that we should make our voice heard with the Commission, and we should say either yea or nay. We should not remain silent on it. I see that as an evasion of our responsibilities and the mandate that has been provided to us through the Agricultural Land Commission Act.
Okay, and having said that, the Regional District of Okanagan-Smilkameen, they don't forward. They don't take a position on that.
Well, they have to
Well,
forward.
they forward without
They forward, but they don't pass any comments.
No.
Now, usually the Commission would take that as a negative. But on the other hand, if in fact, for whatever reason, they choose to respond positively to it, then you have lost your voice on the matter.
Right, right. Okay. And I understand that. So then when we're looking at this, if we were going forward, let's say it was going to go forward with support. This would be a supposition that we're moving this into, well, we'd be moving it to the public hearing process.
Right.
Okay. What about the zoning of that property? So if we move forward with it, with the applicant applying to have it removed, and does that make the zoning binding?
No, it does not. And first of all, you could make an affirmative recommendation, and the Agricultural Land Commission may disagree with you. They may say, well, thank you much for your affirmative recommendation, but in view of our mandate under the Act, we still have concerns about it and we'll refuse it. So it's not automatic that it would be approved if you do recommend it. If they do return back to us and say, we agree with your recommendation, then we would start the process for the OCP land use designation change, and also the change to the zoning bylaw. And at that point, the public would have another full opportunity for participating in the discussion. Also associated with the OCP change would be approval required of council under OCP for the area plan for the whole site. We have a draft site plan in here that's not approved by council or anybody else, but if we proceed with this, the applicant would have to submit their final area plan, and that would be subject to review and discussion by the public. So if, for instance, somebody thought that some of the RV sites were too close to their boundaries, they would have the opportunity to say that, and council could take that into consideration and ask them to put in a larger buffer, for instance. So it's a very participatory public process.
I can see that. So, like I'll just say it. I don't know that being a mobile park for an RV park, I don't know that that's the highest and best use of that land. I haven't been convinced of that, and I haven't been convinced of that through the tax bases. I would personally rather see $800,000 house built on it that's generating tax base to the town of Osoyoos. So I haven't been convinced of the use of that land. And again, you're saying that moving this into the exclusion from the agricultural land reserve, I'm not giving up that thought or desire.
No, that is correct. Obviously, the preliminary plan, which is included here, would go onto the Agricultural Land Commission. But quite frankly, their concerns about what the property is going to be used for are of less importance than the fact that it's going to be taken out of the ALR and therefore removed forever from some agricultural potential. It is true that they favor some kind of uses more than others. For instance, those that create employment, industrial parks. In the case of our Southeast Medlock area, they were sold on the idea and principle because of the inclusion of affordable housing. So they do have some preferences, but the door would not be locked on further discussion about how the lands could be used, unless they put a specific caveat on it, which I don't, that it had to be used for that, and I don't see them doing that.
Okay, so what we're dealing with right now is moving this into that public arena.
That's correct.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make that motion based on that, and just a couple of words if there's a seconder. And I guess on the 12th, your recommended date and the time at 7:30.
About 7:30. Because we don't know how long the public hearing. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that would be seconded by Councillor McCordoff. Maybe I'm having trouble with this, and I'm just going back to, under those options, they say that you'd have the public hearing at 7 and the public meeting at 7:30.
Right.
That's not, to me, that's backwards.
It's a home
Well,
occupation.
I think it's based on my hunch that there's more people going to be coming to this meeting than the first one. So that's why I seek it said twice.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay. So the reference here to the public hearing is the other public hearing.
That's correct.
Okay. The
That's
home
correct.
occupation.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
I get it.
All right.
Councillor Rhodes speaking to the motion.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So just about all of us on council have been talked about, asked questions about many different aspects of this whole concept that's being presented. And I think it's absolutely mandatory for us to move to that next phase and begin to gather information from the public on how they feel about this particular project. And, you know, the pros and cons and the information that we'll get from it will be very important to us so that we know that we're, number one, that we're doing the right thing and how our residents feel about it. I just, you know, I really don't want to even do anything else until that happens, really, because, you know, it has an impact on a lot of different aspects of our community and a lot of different residents, many of which are here today, and you know, they're concerned, and some are happy and some are unhappy. And I think that that information thing is the best process for us to move forward with. A public meeting is one of the best ways that I know of. We've been very successful with them in the past, and it helps everyone engage with the community and the stakeholders that are involved in it as well. So Those are just a few words of me speaking in favor of that motion.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor McCordoff, Plant, please.
Yes, thank you. I find this a very difficult issue to deal with, and I have great concerns about taking any kind of land out of the agricultural land reserve. So I do know that there are many people in this town who feel very strongly about this issue, which is why I think it is mandatory that we have a public hearing where people can come forward and state what they want, and I definitely think it should be put in the Osoyoos Times twice, partly because if somebody does not see it the first time, they definitely would see it. So I would make sure that we had that in twice, please, in order to get as many people as possible out here and allow them to state. This has been turned down a couple of times, so we know that there are lots of people that feel very strongly on the issue.
Thank you. Councillor Plant, please.
Just reading over both options, I know we chose two. However, in one, there talk about town website that written comments may be submitted to council through the director. I'm wondering if we can do a combination of both. Again, I don't want to, those that can't make those meetings, obviously we want their comments as well, even though they couldn't be at that meeting. So I didn't notice it onto option 2, which we've chosen. So I'm wondering if we could put in that, obviously, if, we'd like to have your written comments as well. I don't know. Is
absolutely,
that
we would do that so that the notice would look very much like a public hearing one, which in fact invites you to either come to the meeting or to submit your comments through the planning office that goes to council and are read into the record.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. I also just wanted to add one more thing, and I'm sorry it just came to mind. Over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've been asked many times about the status of 45th Street. That would be the road allowance that supposedly may be going through to Lakeshore Drive. Reading through the report and that kind of thing, and this is a situation, a circumstance that's gone back, I think, 2 councils prior to that. I think it was brought forward by Mayor Slater during his time. And I get asked about it all the time, and I got to admit that I'm confused about it. I'm not really sure. I didn't mean to ask you to really clarify it right now, although that would be good. But I was going to suggest that the public meeting that we're going to be having is an opportunity for clarity on that matter. And I know many of the people, a couple in this room are affected by that particular aspect of it, and a couple more that are not here. So, I'm confused about it because it's a historical thing. I don't know where we're at with it right now. I think the new intersection that was put in a little while ago impacts it, but then I'm not sure about that either.
Okay. Well, without obviously precluding the option of returning to this discussion at the actual public meeting itself, I can just briefly say that our OCP road network plan shows the long-term possibility of a connection going from that new intersection down the whole way to Lakeshore. However, that's easier said than done. We're talking about making a connection through an area which is not within town boundaries, and so what the applicants have done is they've shown a road allowance in a road that would be constructed at their cost down to about the middle of the site on the east side, which would access their RV park. They also show a further road dedication from there southwards, does not come out to Lakeshore itself. It stops short of that, but which they would turn over to the town for $1. Even if all of that happens, we'd be involved in some very careful negotiations over the very long term with property owners in the area as to how to get the road out to Lakeshore, if that was what council wished to do. what I'm just trying to avoid here is, besides being consistent with our OCP, I'm trying to avoid the accusation or whatever, or complaint that could be raised in 20 years' time by somebody saying, why didn't the planner at the time consider the possibility of making a direct connection through there? 20 years' time, the traffic generated may make it very well worth an idea to be considered. But that can be scratched right at the beginning by council as even a future option, or it can just be kept in there for future council to revisit and make a decision when the traffic counts on the highway merited it. Right now they don't.
Okay. Anything else from council? Maybe we just better have our resolution where that's going. Mr. Romanko, you look a bit puzzled here.
No, I'm not puzzled.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That council approves setting an advertised public meeting for the Wish Property ALR exclusion application on Tuesday, November 12, 2013, approximately 7:30 p.m. following the public hearing, and confirms that 2 advertisements be placed in the Osoyoos Times on October 30th and November 6th, and that it be advertised on the town website that written comments from the public may be submitted to council through the director.
Thank you very much. Council, ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will be moving to the public meeting. Thank you. Under business 3, RCM funding for July the 1st. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Sergeant Scher provided a report at the October 7th, 2013 Committee of the Whole meeting. During this report, he advised council that the $7,000 funding he applied for from the RCMP for additional policing during Canada Day was pulled right before the event. Council provided an additional $10,000 for policing for the summer months. This funding is strictly for additional parks enforcement and was not meant for additional policing on Canada Day. On July 1st, there was a substantial need for additional policing within the town, especially during the fireworks. It is critical that the additional $7,000 funding from the RCMP be provided in future years to ensure that the community remains safe and free from crime, with the town's population increasing during that weekend. So what's being presented here are options that were at council's direction, that a letter be written to the RCMP superintendent, Kevin Huco, from the Penticton South Okanagan Smilkameen Regional Detachment, requesting that the RCMP reconsider its funding for additional policing in Osoyoos for July 1st. And the second option is that no option be taken, and the staff recommends option number 1.
Great. Council, please. Councillor McCordoff.
Yes, I'll recommend option 1, that the letter be written to the RCMP superintendent.
Thank you. And Councillor Plant seconding. If I may speak to the motion, I met at this point Inspector Kevin Huco, soon to be Superintendent Kevin Huco. Just hasn't quite happened yet, but I met him at Regional District, and I think this will be well received. He has resort municipality policing in his background, and understands resort municipalities and vacation sites. So I think that'll be good. Councilor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. Speaking to the motion, I do know that the music fest that is being suggested, still I think at this point, I don't think it's a done deal, has been, they've decided on the dates, which are June the 27th to July the 5th. So my thinking is this type of extra enforcement is going to be needed not just for July the 1st next year. It's possible that it's going to be needed for a whole week. So it's really doubly important that we make sure that that is mentioned in the letter, or certainly for July 1st we need it.
Thanks, Councilor McCordoff. Any other input from council? All in favor? We'll get that letter off and see if we get some money. That's the business section done. Notice of motion, none. Reports. Heading into reports, payroll, general Sun Bowl and payroll accounts. General in the general account in the amount of $364,619.43. Sun Bowl account in the amount of $7,407.14. And payroll accounts for receipt in the amount of $71,727.29. Any input into that from council? Hearing none, they'll be adopted by consensus. Any committee reports from any? No committee reports. Moving to our CAO report, Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just a few of the activities the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks, starting in the community services area. Fencing for the splash park will be started this week. Second, the tap-by-tap water savings kits are still being handed out to residents. They have rescheduled the Healthy Living Coalition Community Forum. A new date will be set in November. The new basketball backboards and rims have been installed at the Sonora Center, and they're preparing a report for the DFO issue at the arena. This is where the white ice removal at year end could not make its way down to the storm drain. The Halloween Howl and Harvest Dance are coming up at the Sonora Center. Into the corporate services area, the bylaw enforcement on unsightly properties continue to take up a lot of bylaw and staff time. We've posted relief recreation facilities attendant for the Sun Bowl Arena, and they're continuing to work on the land issues with Crown Lands. And Director and the Deputy Corporate Officer attended the Clerks and Corporate Officers Forum, which was held at Spirit Ridge, and approximately 100 corporate officers from across the province attended for 2.5 days of professional development right in our backyard. Public Works, at Cottonwood, the Cottonwood redevelopment there, the curbs have been poured with sidewalks and paving to follow as soon as possible. I heard they're a couple of weeks ahead of schedule, which is very, very positive. The sewer force main project reached Cactus and 89th, and reached Cactus, so 89th should remain open to traffic, although it wasn't today. The Y property, Ron will be meeting with the arborist, or was supposed to meet with the arborist today to just work out details of what the next steps were going to be. Irrigation is just about over, with the exception of a few latecomers. Winterizing of washrooms and irrigation blowouts are near completion, and cell 1 clean out of the lagoon and aeration system maintenance is near completion. Myself, the directors and I had spent a day in business planning, so we'll be looking to the next joint meeting of council to bring out our draft business plan, and so we can start the budgeting process. We had a meeting with the Osoyoos Rural District Fire to discuss the new fire hall. Also a meeting with an HR contractor who was interested in doing some work with with our town, and also the initial meeting with the landscape architect for Gyro Beach and the other projects. So that's my report for today.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Romanko. Motion to receive. Rhodes, McCordoff, all in favor. We will receive that report. And heading for councillors' reports, ladies first. Councillor McCordoff, please.
Thank you. I either seem to be first or last on the list, and it's first is just fine. This is the time of year when several events start to take place in preparation for Christmas. It seems early, but it gets started now. On Saturday, the Osoyoos Royalty had a terrific tea and craft sale at the Legion, and it was extremely well attended. And so I commend them for doing that, because it was a lot of work, and I hope that they made some money at it. The Osoyoos Seroptimists are putting on an event on November the 23rd. It's called Crackin' Me Up Dinner Theater. It's a dinner, catered dinner, and a world-renowned comedy improv team called Vancouver Theatre Sports League. It's at the Sonora Center, And the tickets are on sale now at Imperial Office Pro. They're fairly expensive, $60 a person. I think that several town leaders may be expected to be there because the improv group knows your names. So you may be part of the act. Anyway, that tickets are on sale now, and it's in a month. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the Mariposa Auxiliary is doing a fundraiser. They're making apple pies. They're actually cooking them in the Legion. And you need to pre-order. They're only $8 a pie, all apple. And the pickup is Wednesday afternoon between 1 and 3. They're $8 a pie. If you would like one, please phone Jesse at 495-3537. I've ordered a couple. One of the other things that's on this week is this week in Osoyoos and next week in Oliver. It's called Twisted Tales, put on by SOAP, the South Okanagan Amateur Players. And I know that Councillor Ryan is in that. Several people from Oliver and Osoyoos will be acting. They're always terrific. I highly recommend them. I've always attended everything that SOAP has put on. It's the 25th and the 26th. That's Friday and Saturday night in Osoyoos. And the following Friday and Saturday, would that be the 1st and the 2nd, I think, in Oliver. Tickets are available in Osoyoos at your dollar store up in the plaza. So attend that if you can. It's always a good laugh. And the last thing I want to tell you about is that our own Frances Solijuk is headed to to Toronto, where she is a guest speaker at a Hardlines conference. This is connecting the home improvement industry, and she's the independent retailer. There are people there from Google Canada, Sears Canada, Bob Ray, who was I think he was the president of Ontario. Was he not the Prime Minister? The Premier of Ontario. Anyway, Frances is also being honored by being a guest speaker there. So how cool is that? So I'm hoping that Mr. Lacey might contact her next week and get a little report on that. So lots of things to do over the next 2 months. The next time I'll be telling you about Christmas light up.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff, and I think they better watch out when our Francis gets there to the conference. That should be very, very interesting when they start realizing what one lady can do and what a difference she can make in an economic environment like this. So go get him, Francis. Councillor Rhodes.
No report.
Okay, Councillor Pont.
Wow, that came fast. I just actually have one update, and it's regarding the Splash Park. On September 23rd to 29th, we had the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie program. And all the sales, the entire proceeds went to our Splash Park. And we raised, I better bring this number up just to make sure I got it right. $9,822. That is going to our Splash Park. So I want to thank Tim Hortons. Brianna Simchuk is the HR and marketing coordinator for Tim Hortons, and she sent me an email. We're going to do a check presentation tomorrow at the Splash Park at 10 a.m. So if you want to come down and high five Brianna for doing this is fabulous. And I'd like to thank Councillor Rhodes for eating 100 of those cookies. That's my report.
And for eating my share.
Thanks, Councillor Plant. I had a bit of I was on holiday for a bit of 1 week there. I went to see my daughter and grandbabies in Victoria, and what started to be a long holiday and was going to go down the Oregon coast and everything turned into be a wonderful, wonderful staycation in beautiful British Columbia. Managed to get a couple of days in on Long Beach, and just doesn't get any better than that. And looked at some of the other communities through Cowichan and Cowax and Parksville, and some of the other areas that are attracting people and into that tourism business, and having a good look at their downtowns and that, and they're doing some real neat things over there. If you ever get to Parksville, you must go to that park on the ocean, that city park down there. It's just fabulous, absolutely huge, and lots to do, and some workout station exercise things that you go through, and things that I'm going, oh, we'd like that here. So maybe sometimes when I go on a holiday, it might end up costing us money if we can, if I can convince council it's a good idea. But anyway, so that was good, and I attended that local government conference, just doing a welcoming over there. Regional district, unfortunately, regional district last week was mostly, well, it's always mostly, but mostly with regional issues rather than any of the bigger issues. But there's some neat things happening. We're going to start looking at trails again and see if we can get truly what a regional vision of a trail is. That should be an interesting definition, I'm sure. But that's basically the report. So thank you very much. And it's beautiful sunny weather, and everyone gets to enjoy some of it. So I'll entertain that motion to adjourn. Councillor McClurdoff-Plant, all in favor? We're adjourned. Good afternoon, folks.